We've got an amazing story, a journey through love and longing and worrying about family during the pandemic, because a lot of people were locked down. They longed to be reunited with their family. But this student who we're going to talk to went an extra mile. Well, he actually went an extra 2,000
2,170 miles.
He's Kleon...
Go on, Eamonn, try
Well, they've written it phonetically.
I think it's Papadimitriou.
But that's what I think it is.
Yes? Did I get that right, Kleon? Thank you very much.
Trouble is, Kleon, I asked them to write this phonetically, and unfortunately it stretches over 2 lines on the auto cue when they write it phonetically, so I couldn't get it. So I'm better off just reading it straight from the page. Papadimitriou. And Kleon, well, what I do know is, of course, Kleon was an Athenian general.
Was he now?
During the Peloponnesian War.
Well, did you know that, Kleon?
Well, I knew that from my ancient Greek. I mean, just saying it. Yes. And you're now, my friend, because we're going to talk about you cycling a very long way from Aberdeen to Athens, right? And when this idea, I mean, to cycle, I just couldn't even imagine. How did you plan your route? Why did you cycle? I mean, obviously there was no other forms of travel available for you or to cross borders, but it was all okay to cross the borders?
Yes, of course it was okay. The preparation that I had to do was, of course, calling the embassies, calling the governments, making sure I have the right documents to do that. And once all that was in place, that's when I seriously started considering doing the trip. But of course, that was the baseline for the trip.
Yeah, I mean, you had thought, you had tried to get a flight, because you said a lot of your friends who had already gone home, you decided to stay, finish your studies as much as you could. By the time you tried to book a flight, you couldn't get anything. So that was a big decision to make. Did you even have a bike?
No, I did not have a bike. I had to get the bike for the trip, but at that point I was getting desperate, because if I did not do something, I would end up being homeless. And the plan initially was just to make it a few more days until I could find a flight, and then maybe go home from London or something like that. But that never became possible, so I just kept on going slowly until I got home.
Well, slowly took 48 days, which is just under 7 weeks in total. So could you walk straight after that?
Well, I could walk straight, but it did feel weird being on solid ground again after I'm used to pedaling for so long.
Yeah.
So how much stuff did you have to take with you? Because, no hotels open, so you had to have somewhere to sleep. I'm presuming you had a tent. What else? We're looking at pictures of your bike there. Doesn't look like you had an awful lot.
Well, the backpack and the panniers at the back that you can see in total weighed about 30 kilos, and about 15 of those were food and water. The rest of the stuff were just 2 changes of clothes, a lightweight tent, a lightweight sleeping bag, and some basic tools in case anything happened to the bike. Other than that, I didn't carry any other stuff for leisure or entertainment.
And did anything happen to the bike? Did you get any injuries?
Punctures?
Did you fall punctures?
It had various faults, nothing too major, everything I could fix by myself. The only recurring issue that I had was the flats. I repeatedly had the flat tubes that I had to replace, I had to patch. And that was because I was doing something wrong that I eventually learned by the end. And hopefully I don't make the same mistake in the future.
So if you're just tuning into this and you're asking and you're seeing Kleon there, who's this Greek Adonis, there in a sports shop or wherever you are, looks very good. Kleon is 20 years of age. He's from Greece. He's currently studying electronic engineering at the University of Aberdeen. And after his lectures finished in March, he tried some flights home. We booked a number of flights. They were all cancelled. The pandemic meant that he and his parents were being kept apart. His parents are very important.
When you told your parents that you were doing this, what was their reaction?
Initially, just another idea that I had, so they kind of went with it. But once they saw that I was considering it more seriously, they did get a little bit concerned. I thank my parents for being quite modern in allowing me and trusting me to set out on such a big adventure by myself.
Yeah, and I know that you all had an app so that they could follow your progress, but they still must have been very worried. I would have been very concerned for you at night because I said you couldn't stay in hotels. You know, and we're saying, you know, smiling now, saying what an amazing thing you've done. But were there times when you were frightened?
Yes, I never felt physically threatened, but there were 1 or 2 times that I was sleeping in a forest, and I did hear or see wild animals, deer mostly. I was never threatened, but seeing a wild animal does make you paranoid. It does make you uncomfortable, and that was a very new experience. But thankfully, it was never an issue.
And were you ever sick?
I did have a little bit of an allergic reaction to pollen in Italy, but that was just a day thing, and that was fine after that.
Look, you're an amazing man. We're going to see the route that you took here, and as I say, this was just about 7 weeks in total. It is a long, long way. So there he is, starting in Aberdeen, and as the route plays itself out there, as we see this, and this is 2,000 miles that you're actually covering here. I've just got to ask you, my friend, how are you going to get back to Aberdeen when university resumes?
Well, I'm hoping I'll be able to get a flight back home. Unfortunately, the trip, was very difficult for me, and I was very lonely. So I don't think I would do the same thing again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would, of course, do it with company and another route. But hopefully I'll be catching a flight back home.
Well, we're full of awe and admiration for you. And just before we say goodbye to you, we've been talking about people from other countries who are in the UK, or people from the UK when they go to other countries, maybe foods that they miss, or snacks that they miss, or sweets that they miss from home. Is there anything in particular you either miss from Aberdeen now that you're in Greece, or from Greece that you miss when you're in Aberdeen?
Both. So when I'm in Aberdeen, I miss souvlaki from Greece, and I miss my mother's cooking. And when I'm in Greece, I miss my cooking back in Aberdeen, and I miss fish and chips.
Fish and chips, yeah.
And it's a Friday.
It's
It's only Thursday.
No, it's really Thursday. It feels like Friday. Listen, Kleon, you're an extraordinary young man. I'm sure your parents gave you the most wonderful welcome home. They must have been so relieved to see you. It's an incredible thing you did. I'm so glad you're safe, and we wish you well with your studies when you can get back to Aberdeen safely on a plane, hopefully. Thank
you very much. Thank you very much for my story.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Kleon. There's a mannerly young boy.
His mummy must be very proud of him.
You would like to, if one of your children brought him home.
He's a nice young man.
Nice
young man. Very nice young man.
Studying. What was he studying?
Engineering.
Engineering at Aberdeen.
Clever too.
Electronic engineering.
Alice is happy.
Whatever that is.
Just thinking of selling him to one of my daughters.